My crazy mother insisted I give my daughter away for no reason, and my boyfriend defended me. Turns out this was a manipulation tactic, because after that he started isolating me from my friends and making my life a bigger hell than my mom ever did. So I escaped from him and went back to my mom. My life was already pretty crappy, but then my daughter was born. I was 16 when I met her 28-year-old baby daddy. He sold substances to my mom and took a liking to me. Back then, I didn't know anything, so I went along with anything he said. It wasn't long before I was one of his many girlfriends, because he managed to convince me that I was special. And when I turned 18, he gave me the world's craziest birthday gift, a positive pregnancy test. And as soon as I told him, he ghosted me. I never saw him again. I sort of knew my future would end up this way, so I swore to myself a long time ago that I would never get a baby unalive. And I kept that promise. But my mom had other plans. She tried everything from clothes hangering me while I slept to accidentally pushing me over. And one time she even crashed the car with me in the front seat, thank God for airbags. And even though my baby girl survived, my mother's actions had consequences. Because when she was born, the doctors told me she was blind. My heart broke and I almost started crying. But then I turned to look into the eyes of mini-me. Her little hands grabbed my fingers and she smiled. I was instantly filled with love, and I swore to myself that I'd counteract the statistics. She'd have a good life. I'd make sure of it. But then my mom got involved. I'm pretty sure the substances messed up her brain, because she couldn't stand the idea of me not spending as much time with her anymore. She'd genuinely get upset at me if I turned down hanging out with her because I had to watch my baby. I tried to couch surf for a while to get away from her, but that didn't work because bears over men. Either way, I moved back in with my mom, and that's when she got a whole lot worse. She started doing things to mentally break me. She'd do everything to convince me I was a bad mother and how low my odds were. Did you know that the chances of a kid having a good life if they have a single teenage parent are just 12%? Hey, I read that kids with disabilities have a 9 times higher likelihood of being bullied to sewer slide. I think you should give her away. You're not ready for that kind of trauma yet. These were the kinds of things she told me often, but I still persevered. I took all her negativity and threw it into the bin every time. I cried a lot, but I never let her catch me. My baby grew, and she grew happy, because she always had her mama. But as she grew, there was just one thing on my mind. I knew if I didn't teach her Braille early, she had an 85% chance of being unemployed, and even eventually dying alone. The odds weren't good, especially as my mom began stealing from me to fund her addiction. But then I met Jack, and he saved me and my baby from my mom. Well, kinda. Because after what he did to us, I'm not even sure if it was worth it. So like I said, I couldn't finish the story in this short video. But let me get right back to what happened with Jack. I met him at a support group for parents of kids with disabilities. He was this tall guy with glasses who worked as a special education teacher at the local elementary school. He specialized in teaching kids with visual impairments, which instantly caught my attention. At first, I was just desperate for any help with teaching my daughter Braille. The local resources were basically non-existent, and my mom wasn't exactly rushing to learn the alphabet herself. Jack offered to help us right away. He came over twice a week after work to teach my daughter the basics while also showing me how to continue the lessons. My mom hated him from day one. She would make these passive-aggressive comments whenever he was around, but Jack never seemed bothered by it. He just kept showing up reliably, week after week. After about a month of these lessons, my daughter started making real progress with her finger reading. I couldn't believe how quickly she was picking things up. Jack brought over these special children's books with both Braille and regular text so I could read along with her. One night after a lesson, Jack asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. I hadn't been on a date since before my daughter was born, and honestly I was terrified. But there was something about Jack that felt safe. He never pushed or rushed anything. So I said yes, and my mom reluctantly agreed to watch my daughter for a couple hours. That coffee date turned into dinner, which turned into more dates. And before I knew it, Jack and I had been dating for 3 months. He was amazing with my daughter, and she absolutely adored him. He brought over games and toys specifically designed for visually impaired kids. He showed me how to set up our small apartment in ways that would help her navigate independently. For the first time since she was born, I felt like maybe we could actually make it. Then my mom started stealing from me again. I knew she was using again when money started disappearing from my wallet. Jack noticed how stressed I was getting about finances. One night after my daughter was asleep, we sat on my tiny couch and I broke down crying, telling him everything about my mom's addiction, the stealing, the constant undermining. I was just so tired of fighting against everything all the time. That's when Jack suggested we move in with him. He had a 2-bedroom apartment that was way nicer than the place I shared with my mom. He said he could help with my daughter while I looked for a better job, maybe even finish my GED. It felt like a miracle, like finally catching a break after years of constant struggle. I was hesitant at first, worried about moving too fast. But then my mom stole my entire paycheck that I'd cashed but hadn't had time to deposit yet. That was it. I packed our stuff that same day. Jack helped us move while my mom was out doing whatever she did when she disappeared for hours. I didn't even leave a note. I just wanted out. The first few months with Jack were amazing. He helped me get my daughter enrolled in a special preschool program for visually impaired kids. He showed me resources I never knew existed. I started taking online classes to finish my GED. For once, things were looking up. My daughter was thriving in her new school. She was learning Braille faster than ever and making friends for the first time. I picked up a part-time job at a coffee shop near our apartment, working while she was at school. Jack never asked for rent money, saying he wanted me to save up for my daughter's future. He even started a special savings account just for her education. I should have seen the red flags sooner. They were there from the beginning, but I was so grateful to be away from my mom that I ignored them. It started small. Jack would question my parenting decisions. He'd say things like, "Are you sure that's the best way to handle that?" Or, "I've worked with hundreds of visually impaired kids, and that's not what the experts recommend." At first, I thought he was just trying to help, sharing his expertise, but it happened more and more often. Then he started going through my phone. I caught him one night scrolling through my text messages while I was in the shower. When I confronted him about it, he said he was just trying to find a number for the pizza place we ordered from before. I believed him then. I really did. Things got worse after I made friends with one of the moms from my daughter's school. Kelly was also a single mom with a visually impaired son. We started meeting for coffee after drop-off sometimes. It was nice having someone who understood exactly what I was going through. Jack hated Kelly from the moment I mentioned her. He said she seemed unstable and not a good influence. He started scheduling things during our coffee meetups so I'd have to cancel. When I pushed back, saying I needed friends, He accused me of prioritizing my social life over my daughter's needs. That's when the financial control started. Jack suggested that since he was paying for all the housing expenses, maybe I should let him handle the household budget too. It made sense at the time. He was more financially stable, had better credit, knew how to invest. So I agreed to deposit my paychecks into our joint account. I didn't realize that meant I'd have to ask permission before buying anything, even a cup of coffee. If I spent money without telling him, he'd question me about it for hours. The day Kelly slipped me a pamphlet about domestic abuse was the day I realized how bad things had gotten. We were at a playground watching our kids, and she waited until Jack went to the car to get something. She handed me this folded paper and said, "I'm not saying this is you, but just read it when you're alone." I stuffed it in my pocket quickly. Later, I read it locked in the bathroom while Jack was watching TV. Every single warning sign on that list applied to my relationship with Jack. Financial control, isolation from friends and family, constant criticism, monitoring phone and social media, making me doubt my own judgment. I felt sick to my stomach. That night, I pretended everything was normal, but my mind was racing. I couldn't just leave. I had nowhere to go. My mom wasn't an option. I had no money of my own since everything went into the joint account that Jack controlled. I'd have to be smart about this. I had to make a plan. I started skimming small amounts of cash from my tips at the coffee shop, hiding it inside a tampon box where I knew Jack would never look. I reached out to Kelly using a fake email account I created on a library computer. She helped me contact a women's shelter that had experience with kids with disabilities. I slowly gathered important documents and small mementos, things we couldn't leave behind. My daughter's medical records, her special toys, the baby book I'd kept since she was born. I hid these things at Kelly's house, bringing them over a few at a time when I'd visit with my daughter. Jack got more controlling as time went on. He started dropping by the coffee shop during my shifts to surprise me. He installed a tracking app on my phone for safety. He suggested I quit my job to focus on my online classes, saying he'd support us financially. I knew if I quit, I'd lose what little independence I had left, so I made excuses about needing the social interaction. The breaking point came when my daughter started having nightmares. She would wake up crying, saying she was scared of making Jack mad. My heart shattered when I realized she was walking on eggshells around him too. That was it. No matter how scared I was, I had to get my daughter out of there. The day we left, I waited until Jack went to a full-day training conference for work. I called Kelly, who came over with her car. We loaded up the few things we hadn't already moved to her place, and we were gone within 30 minutes. The women's shelter had a room ready for us. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe. My daughter adjusted surprisingly well, maybe because she could sense my relief at being free. Jack blew up my phone with messages alternating between threats and begging. He showed up at my job, causing such a scene that my manager had to call security. He sent emails to my online school account. He even tried to contact Kelly, who thankfully had already blocked him on everything. The shelter helped me get a restraining order. They connected me with a lawyer who worked pro bono for domestic violence survivors. With the lawyer's help, I was able to document Jack's financial abuse and controlling behavior. The restraining order was granted, forcing Jack to stay at least 500 feet away from both me and my daughter. He also couldn't contact us in any way. After a couple weeks at the shelter, I found out my mom had been trying to find me. She'd gone to Jack's apartment looking for us after I disappeared, and he'd slammed the door in her face. She'd been worried enough to actually call the police, which was huge for her since she typically avoided them due to her drug use. The shelter staff verified that my mom had actually been in rehab for the past few months. I was skeptical, but they suggested a supervised meeting to see for myself. I agreed to meet her at a public park with a shelter advocate present. I almost didn't recognize my mom when she showed up. She'd gained weight. Her skin had color again. Her eyes were clear. She looked healthier than I'd seen her in years. She broke down crying as soon as she saw my daughter. Through tears, she told me she'd hit rock bottom after we left. She'd overdosed and nearly died. When she woke up in the hospital, something finally clicked. She checked herself into rehab the next day. She'd been clean for almost 6 months. She showed me her sobriety chips, the journal she kept, and pictures of her new apartment, a small but clean one-bedroom place she'd rented near her rehab center. She was working part-time at a grocery store and attending meetings every day. I didn't trust her right away. How could I? But I agreed to supervised visits with my daughter. To my surprise, these visits went well. My mom was patient and gentle with my daughter in a way she'd never been before. She'd learned some basic Braille so she could read books with her granddaughter. After a month of these visits, I cautiously agreed to have dinner at her new apartment. It was nothing fancy, but it was clean and organized. No drug paraphernalia in sight, no sketchy people coming and going. She'd even set up a corner of her living room with adaptive toys for my daughter. Over the next few months, I slowly rebuilt my life. The women's shelter helped me find a job at a local call center that offered flexible hours and decent benefits. I continued my online classes. Kelly and I remained close friends, our kids growing up together like siblings. My mom stayed clean, marking each sobriety milestone with a special outing with her granddaughter. Eventually, I saved enough for a small apartment of our own. It was in a decent neighborhood with a good school nearby that had resources for visually impaired students. My daughter thrived in her new school. The teachers were amazed by how advanced her Braille reading was for her age, thanks to all the early intervention. As for Jack, he eventually moved to another state after the restraining order became permanent. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he found another single mom to rescue. I hope she sees the red flags sooner than I did. My mom's journey to sobriety wasn't always smooth. She had one relapse about a year after we reconnected. It scared me enough that I nearly cut her off again, but she immediately checked herself back into rehab, and that time it seemed to really stick. She became a steady presence in our lives, babysitting my daughter while I worked or studied. She even started volunteering at a recovery center, sharing her story to help others. Last year, I finally got my GED. My mom and daughter were in the audience at the ceremony, cheering louder than anyone. I'm now taking community college classes, working toward a degree in social work. I want to help other families like mine navigate the complicated systems of support for kids with disabilities. My daughter is 8 now. She reads Braille faster than I can read print. She's learning to play the piano and is obsessed with science. She navigates our apartment completely independently and has started using a white cane to explore outside. Sometimes when I watch her confidently moving through the world, I think about those statistics my mom used to quote at me. The 12% chance of success for kids with single teenage parents. The employment challenges for visually impaired people. All those numbers meant to make me give up. But we beat those odds. We rewrote our story. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. There were plenty of times I wanted to give up. Times when I questioned whether I was strong enough to keep fighting. But each time I looked at my daughter, her determination, her joy, her resilience, I found the strength to keep going. I'm not saying our lives are perfect now. We still have challenges. Money is still tight sometimes. My daughter still faces barriers that other kids don't. I still have trust issues from everything with Jack, but we're stable. We're safe. We're moving forward. My mom recently celebrated 3 years of sobriety. We had a small party at our apartment with cake and balloons. My daughter made her a card in Braille that my mom has proudly displayed on her refrigerator. As for me, I've started dating again, very cautiously. Kelly introduced me to her brother, who's a special education teacher at a different school. We've been taking things extremely slowly. He understands my hesitation and never pushes for more than I'm ready to give. He's great with my daughter, teaching her how to swim at the community pool and bringing over audio-described movies for our movie nights. I don't know if it will last, but for the first time, I'm allowing myself to imagine a future that includes partnership instead of just survival. Last week, my daughter had a school project where she had to present about her hero. I assumed she'd choose one of her favorite audiobook characters, or maybe her music teacher, but she chose me. She stood in front of her class and told them how her mom taught herself Braille so she could teach her daughter, how her mom escaped a bad situation to keep them safe, how her mom never gave up even when things were really hard. Her teacher recorded it and sent it to me. I've watched it probably 50 times, crying every single time. That's the thing about being a parent, especially a parent facing extra challenges. You don't always see your own strength when you're in the middle of the struggle. You're just doing what needs to be done, one day at a time. But sometimes, if you're lucky, you get these moments where you can step back and see that all those small daily acts of love and determination have added up to something meaningful, something that matters. I look at my life now, our safe apartment, my daughter's success in school, my mom's recovery, my own educational journey, and I can hardly believe how far we've come from those early days when I was just a terrified teenage mom with a blind baby and a drug-addicted mother. If I could go back and tell that scared young version of myself anything, it would be this. It gets better. Not because of luck or magic, but because you'll make it better. One hard decision at a time. All those statistics my mom quoted to break me down, they're just numbers. They can't measure determination. They can't quantify love. They can't predict what happens when someone decides to fight for a better life, no matter how impossible it seems. So that's my story. From a naive 16-year-old who fell for her mom's drug dealer to a confident mother raising an amazing visually impaired daughter. From temporary shelters and abusive relationships to stability and hope. I share it not because it's extraordinary, but because it isn't. There are so many parents out there fighting similar battles, feeling alone in their struggles. If that's you, I hope my story helps you feel less alone. I hope it reminds you that you're stronger than you think, that the odds don't define you, that your story isn't finished yet. As for me and my daughter, we're still writing our story. One day at a time, one challenge at a time, one victory at a time. And no matter what statistics say, I know this for sure. Our future is bright. Even if my daughter can't see it, she can feel it. And really, that's all that matters. So I didn't end up making this video to promote anything or ask for followers. I just wanted to share our journey in case it helps someone else who's struggling. Sometimes just knowing someone else has walked a similar path and made it through can be enough to keep going for one more day. And sometimes one more day is all you need to turn everything around. Thanks for listening to our story. If you're going through something similar, don't give up. Reach out for help. Find your Kelly. Build your support system. You're not alone, and you're stronger than you think. I promise. Jack turned out to be a nightmare, but escaping him led me to where I am today. And despite everything that happened, I wouldn't change a thing. Every struggle led me here, to this imperfect but beautiful life with my amazing daughter, and that makes it all worth it. I look back at everything we went through, and I realize that every hard decision, every time I chose to keep going despite the odds, was a step toward where we are now. You know what's funny? My mom, the same person who once tried to end my pregnancy and spent years trying to convince me I was doomed to fail, now brags about her granddaughter to everyone at her recovery meetings. She shows pictures of my daughter playing piano and tells everyone how her granddaughter is some kind of genius. Life is strange that way. People can change, situations can improve, nothing stays terrible forever, not if you keep moving forward. So yeah, Jack might have saved us from my mom temporarily, but in the end, we saved ourselves. I saved my daughter, my mom saved herself, and somehow, against all odds, we became a real family. Not perfect, not without struggles, but real and loving and determined. And really, that's the best ending I could have hoped for. Actually, it's not an ending at all. It's a beginning. Our beginning. So I guess this is where I'll sign off. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. If you're struggling, don't give up. The statistics, the odds, the doubters, they don't know your strength. They don't know your heart. They don't get to write your story. Only you do. And trust me, it can have a happy chapter, even after the darkest ones. I never believed that before, but I do now, because I'm living it. And so can you. It's been exactly 8 months since I posted that original story. Life moves differently now. I wake up next to Ellie most mornings, still amazed she's there. The nightmares come less frequently. I still jump at unexpected sounds sometimes. My therapist says that's normal. Some wounds take longer to heal. I started a new job at a local community center. Nothing fancy, just helping kids with homework after school. The pay isn't great, but the kids make me laugh. They don't know my history. To them, I'm just the guy who helps with math problems. There's something freeing about that anonymity. I bought a used bike last month. Now I ride to work instead of taking the bus. The morning air clears my head. My legs ached terribly the first week. Now they're stronger. Small victories matter more to me now. Ellie and I found a tiny apartment closer to her work. We painted the walls ourselves. I got more paint on my clothes than the walls. She laughed at my technique. We christened every room that weekend. The neighbor complained about the noise. We sent them an apology card with cookies. They bring us homemade bread now. Funny how things work out. My brother called last week. We hadn't spoken in nearly 3 years. The conversation felt awkward and stiff, but we made plans to meet next month. I'm nervous about seeing him. He doesn't know about the dark times. I'm not sure how much to share. Ellie says honesty works best. She's usually right about these things. I started keeping a gratitude journal. It seemed cheesy at first. Now I look forward to writing in it. Today I wrote about the perfect egg sandwich I made. Yesterday it was about finding a 20 and an old jacket. Simple things matter most these days. We adopted a cat from the shelter. He's missing one eye and has a crooked tail. No one wanted him. We named him Lucky. The irony made us smile. He sleeps on my chest at night. His purring drowns out my racing thoughts. I caught myself humming while doing dishes yesterday. I can't remember the last time I did that. Maybe never. Happiness sneaks up on you in quiet moments. I reconnected with an old friend from high school online. We got coffee last weekend. He's balding now. I have gray hairs. We laughed about getting old, then talked about our younger days. The conversation felt easy and light. I didn't check my phone once. My hands don't shake as much anymore. The doctor reduced my medication last month. The side effects had become bothersome. I feel more present now, more engaged with the world around me. I started volunteering at the Veterans Center downtown, just one Saturday a month. I mostly listen to their stories. They understand certain things without explanation. There's comfort in that shared experience. I witnessed a car accident last Tuesday. The sound of metal crushing made me drop to the ground, an old reflex kicking in. A stranger helped me up. I felt embarrassed but thanked him. Then I helped direct traffic until police arrived. Progress isn't linear. Ellie surprised me with concert tickets last week. A band I loved in college was playing. We stood in the crowd, bodies pressed together. The music vibrated through my chest. I closed my eyes and just existed in that moment. We ate greasy pizza afterward, sat on a curb like teenagers. Grease dripped down my chin. She wiped it away with her thumb. I felt completely seen and completely loved. My father's birthday came and went. I didn't call him. Some relationships can't be repaired. I've made peace with that reality. Not every story gets a neat resolution. My therapist says that's part of life too. I started running in the mornings, just short distances at first. Now I can do 3 miles without stopping. My lungs burn in the cold air. It reminds me I'm alive. The nightmares returned after seeing a war movie. I woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. Ellie held me until morning. She didn't ask questions, just stroked my hair and hummed softly. The next day felt heavy. I went through motions robotically, but I went through them. That counts for something. We're saving for a trip to the coast. Neither of us has seen the Pacific Ocean. We want to watch the sunset over endless water, to feel small against something so vast. Maybe we'll go in spring. The weather should be better then. I found my old journal from the worst days. Reading it felt like meeting a stranger. The handwriting looked like mine. The thoughts seemed foreign. I burned it page by page in the sink, watched the ash swirl down the drain. Ellie caught me crying afterward. She didn't say anything, just held my hand while we watched bad TV. We planted tomatoes on our tiny balcony. They grew surprisingly well. We had tomato sandwiches for a week straight, the simple pleasure of eating something we grew ourselves. Our first dinner party happened last month. Just 4 friends around our cramped table. We used mismatched plates. The food turned out mediocre. No one seemed to mind. The laughter felt better than any perfect meal. I still haven't told my mother about Ellie. She wouldn't approve of her tattoos, or her job as a bartender, or her divorced parents. I'm working up the courage. Some battles are still hard to fight. We talk about the future sometimes. Careful conversations about what might be. Nothing definite. Just possibilities floating between us. Marriage feels too conventional for what we have, but something permanent appeals to me. I got promoted at the community center. Now I coordinate all the after-school programs. The raise means we can fix the car finally. Adult responsibilities still surprise me sometimes. I never thought I'd make it this far. A letter came from an old unit buddy. He's struggling badly. I called him immediately. We talked for 3 hours. I shared resources that helped me. He promised to try therapy. I check on him weekly now. Some burdens we carry for each other. Ellie got offered a management position at the bar, better hours and better pay. We celebrated with cheap champagne. She looked so proud telling me the news. I felt proud too. Our successes feel shared now. The neighbor's kid asked me to teach him chess. Now we play every Sunday afternoon. He beats me occasionally. His strategic mind impresses me. I wonder if I was ever that bright. Probably not. My nightmares changed recently. They're less about what happened there, more about losing what I have now. I wake up reaching for Ellie, making sure she's real. The fear of loss never fully leaves. It just transforms. We went camping last weekend, slept under stars brighter than city lights. The silence felt enormous at first, then comforting. I made coffee over a campfire. It tasted better than any fancy cafe brew. We hiked 5 miles to a waterfall. The path was steeper than expected. My knee ached from an old injury, but seeing water cascade over ancient rocks made it worthwhile. We swam in the cold pool below. The shock of cold water reset something in me. I returned feeling cleaner somehow, not just physically. Lucky the cat had to see a vet. Cost us more than expected. We ate ramen for a week afterward. Neither of us complained. Some priorities shift naturally. I started drawing again. Just simple sketches in a small notebook. Nothing gallery-worthy. But the act of creating feels important. Ellie hung one on our refrigerator. Her pride seemed disproportionate to the quality. That's love, I suppose. We registered to vote together, discussed candidates over breakfast, disagreed on some issues, found common ground on others. The ability to disagree without fear feels like freedom. I still struggle with crowds sometimes. The farmer's market downtown overwhelmed me last Sunday. Too many people. Too many sounds. I had to leave quickly. Ellie didn't question it. She just followed me out. We got ice cream instead. My brother's visit went better than expected. He seemed genuinely interested in my life. We talked about Dad a little, avoided the harder topics. Small steps toward rebuilding something meaningful. He liked Ellie immediately, called her a keeper when she went to the bathroom. He wasn't wrong. The anniversary of my darkest day came and went. I took flowers to the Veterans Memorial, sat there alone for an hour, not talking, not crying, just remembering faces of those who didn't make it back. I honor them by living fully now. That evening, we had friends over. I laughed until my sides hurt. Life contains multitudes like that. I fixed our landlord's leaky sink. He reduced our rent by $50. Small kindnesses exchanged between people all the time. I notice them more now. The world seems less hostile when viewed through that lens. We found a free couch on the street corner, carried it 5 blocks to our apartment. It has a small tear on one cushion, otherwise perfect. Sometimes the universe provides exactly what's needed. My mother finally called, asked if I'd come home for Thanksgiving. I said we would. Used the word we deliberately. She didn't ask questions, but she heard me. Progress comes in small moments. I had a panic attack in the grocery store. The fluorescent lights suddenly seemed too bright. My heart raced uncontrollably. A store employee helped me outside, stayed with me until I could breathe normally. Strangers show unexpected kindness sometimes. Ellie and I had our first big fight. She thought I was withdrawing again. I thought she was pushing too hard. We both said things we regretted. I slept on that free couch. She took the bed. The distance felt enormous, unbearable. I knocked on the bedroom door at midnight. We talked until sunrise, made love as the room filled with morning light. Some bridges must be crossed together. The community center lost funding for one program. I had to let 2 part-time employees go. The responsibility weighed heavily. I wrote them glowing recommendation letters, bought them lunch on their last day. Leadership comes with difficult choices. I started building a bookshelf from scratch, watched YouTube tutorials on woodworking. The first attempt looked terrible. I started over. The second turned out better. Now it holds our growing collection of paperbacks. Imperfect but functional, like most things worth having. We celebrated my birthday quietly. Just dinner at my favorite restaurant, then cheesecake at home. Ellie gave me a watch that belonged to her grandfather. Said strong men had worn it before me. I couldn't speak past the lump in my throat. Some gifts mean more than words can express. I saw my old commanding officer at the grocery store. He didn't recognize me at first, then hugged me awkwardly, asked standard questions about life, didn't mention what happened. Maybe he didn't remember. Maybe he wanted to forget too. Either way, the encounter left me unsettled. I applied for a small business loan. Want to start a program helping veterans learn trade skills. The bank wants more paperwork, more proof of concept. The process feels overwhelming sometimes, but the vision keeps me motivated. I keep moving forward. Ellie got hit on by a customer at work. He grabbed her wrist when she walked away. She handled it professionally, had him removed by security, told me about it matter-of-factly. I felt rage bubble inside me. Wanted to find him, hurt him. The old violent impulses surfaced quickly. I took a long walk instead, practiced breathing techniques, came home calmer. She was proud of my restraint. Progress happens in invisible moments. We spent a weekend helping her sister move, carried heavy furniture up 3 flights of stairs. My back protested loudly, but the gratitude on her sister's face made it worthwhile. Family expands in unexpected ways. I found myself included naturally. My therapy sessions decreased to twice a month. The therapist says my progress exceeds expectations. I still have difficult days, but they no longer derail weeks. I manage the waves more skillfully now. Recovery isn't an endpoint, it's a practice. Daily choices toward healing. I registered for a community college class, just one course in business management. The classroom felt strange at first, being surrounded by younger students. Their energy infected me gradually. Now I look forward to Tuesday evenings. Learning feels like a privilege now, not an obligation. Ellie and I discussed children theoretically, whether we might want them someday, what kind of parents we might be. The conversation felt both terrifying and exciting. No decisions made, just possibilities acknowledged. The future contains more options than I once believed. We volunteered at a homeless shelter on Christmas Eve, served meals to people facing harder circumstances. One man had served in the same war, different unit, same haunted eyes. We exchanged knowing nods. Some bonds formed wordlessly. The holidays passed without major incidents. No family drama erupted. No painful memories overwhelmed me. We created new traditions, pancakes for Christmas morning, movie marathon on New Year's Day. Simple pleasures becoming the foundation of our shared life. I received an email from someone who read my original post. She said it helped her find courage, asked for advice about her own struggles. I responded carefully, aware of the responsibility in such exchanges, suggested professional resources, but also shared hope. That's what we can offer each other. Authentic hope. My business plan got approved. The loan came through last week. Now the real work begins. Finding space, creating curriculum, recruiting participants. The challenges seem enormous, but meaningful work often does. I feel purpose rising like the morning sun, steady and inevitable. We celebrated our first anniversary quietly, made dinner at home, exchanged simple gifts, reminisced about how we met, how far we've come. The ordinary miracle of 2 broken people healing together, creating something beautiful from damaged parts. Lucky the cat brought a mouse inside, left it proudly on our pillow, a gift in his mind, a mess in ours. We laughed while cleaning it up. The absurdity of life delights me now, even its inconveniences. I received an invitation to speak at a veterans event. My first reaction was refusal. Public speaking terrifies me, but opportunity often wears uncomfortable clothing. I said yes anyway, started writing my speech that night, hands shaking slightly, heart determined. My mother met Ellie at Thanksgiving. They were awkward together initially. By dessert, they were sharing stories about me, some embarrassing, some endearing, all part of the tapestry that makes a life. My mother hugged Ellie goodbye. A small miracle unfolded at our family table. One of my students won a scholarship. The essay I helped him write made the difference. His mother cried when she told me, said they couldn't afford college otherwise. My work matters in tangible ways now. That knowledge sustains me through harder days. We adopted a second cat, an elderly tabby no one wanted. Lucky seemed lonely when we worked. Now they sleep curled together. Their unlikely friendship reminds me that connection finds unusual pathways sometimes. Spring arrived with explosion of color. Cherry blossoms lined our street. Pink petals covered sidewalks like snow. We walked hand in hand through this temporary beauty, reminded that impermanence makes things more precious, not less. I still carry scars, visible and invisible. They no longer define me completely, just mark chapters in a longer story, one still being written daily, one with hard passages and beautiful ones, a human story, messy and real. My speech at the veterans event went better than expected. Hands shook through the first paragraph, voice steadied as I continued. Afterward, 3 different men approached me privately, asked for the therapist's contact information, small ripples moving outward, change happening quietly. I planted a garden behind our building. The landlord gave permission grudgingly. Now neighbors comment on the vegetables growing, the simple miracle of seeds becoming food, of bare earth transformed by patient tending. Life keeps teaching the same lessons differently. We finally took that trip to the ocean, stood with toes in the Pacific, watched the sun sink into endless water, felt appropriately small against such vastness, slept in a tiny rental cabin, made love with windows open, salt air cooling our skin afterward. Perfect moments exist between imperfect people. I still have the occasional nightmare, but now I know they'll pass. That morning always follows darkness. That healing isn't linear, but it's possible. That showing up matters most, day after day, even when it's difficult, especially then. I've learned to forgive myself for the harder days, the ones where grief resurfaces unexpectedly, where anxiety tightens my chest without warning. Self-compassion becomes another practice, another muscle strengthened through repetition, through conscious choice. My business officially opened last month, a modest space, 5 veterans enrolled in the first class, teaching carpentry skills and business just basics, providing community alongside practical knowledge. The work exhausts and fulfills me simultaneously, exactly as it should. Ellie got accepted to graduate school. She'll study psychology while working part-time. Her enthusiasm brightens our home. Her ambition inspires my own. We support each other's dreams without resentment. Partnership in its truest form. I still read posts from others struggling. Remember the darkness that nearly consumed me. Respond when I can offer genuine help. The community that saved me needs members giving back. The cycle continues person by person, connection by connection, hope spreading quietly. I've learned that happiness isn't constant euphoria. It's presence in each moment, appreciation for simple pleasures, awareness of beauty amid ordinary days. It's feeling everything fully, the painful and the pleasant, living without emotional armor. That's the truest freedom I've found. So if you're still in that dark place I described originally, know this: the light returns differently for everyone. Your path won't mirror mine exactly, but change becomes possible when we stay, when we face each day, when we accept help, when we do the work. I couldn't imagine this life back then. Could never have predicted these ordinary miracles, these quiet joys stacked day upon day, this peace I've found within myself, this love that entered unexpectedly, this purpose that guides my actions now. Life surprises us with its capacity for renewal, with second chances disguised as ordinary days, with healing that happens breath by breath, moment by moment, choice by choice, until one day you realize you're living instead of just surviving. And that makes all the difference. I woke up this morning feeling different somehow. The sunlight hit my face just right through the blinds. I stretched and actually smiled before my feet hit the floor. That's new for me. I used to dread mornings. I used to dread most things, actually. But today, I just felt good. I made coffee the slow way, with the pour-over thing my sister gave me last Christmas. Never used to take the time. Always rushed for the instant stuff. But the ritual felt nice. Warming the mug with hot water first, measuring the beans. The grinding sound filled my small kitchen. The steam rose as I poured the water in circles. I took that first sip and just stood there. Actually tasted it for once. Then I noticed my plants needed water. 3 small succulents on the windowsill. Gifts from myself to myself. Little promises I was making. I'll keep you alive. I'll stick around. I'll notice when things need attention. I watered them each carefully. Their soil had gotten dry. Just like me, I thought. They needed consistent care. I showered without rushing. Let the hot water run down my back. Felt the tension melt away. I used to shower like it was a race. In and out in 3 minutes flat. Today I stood there for 10, maybe 15. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Sam asking about weekend plans. I surprised myself by actually wanting to say yes. I texted back, "Sounds good. I'm in." I got dressed in clothes that weren't just functional. A blue shirt I'd forgotten I owned. It brought out my eyes, or so I'd been told once. I made my bed with care. Hospital corners like my grandmother taught me. It's a small thing, but it matters somehow. I fed my neighbor's cat who visits every morning. She rubbed against my legs and purred. Small joys. Free ones. The walk to work felt different too. I noticed a mural I must have passed 100 times. Bold colors and sweeping lines. A woman's face looking skyward. How had I missed that before? I stopped to really look at it. Took a picture even. People rushed past me on their way to somewhere important. I used to be them. Always rushing. Never seeing. The coffee shop on the corner had a new sign. Today's a good day for a good day. Corny, but it made me smile. I went inside instead of hurrying past. Ordered a second coffee and actually spoke to the barista. Asked her name. It was Maya. She had worked there for 2 years. I'd never noticed her before. My phone buzzed again. My boss asking if I could come in early. 6 months ago, I would have said yes automatically. Today I said I'd be in at the regular time. Small boundaries. Small acts of self-respect. I found a bench in the small park near my office. Sat for 15 minutes just watching. A man walking 5 identical dogs. A child learning to ride a bike. An elderly couple holding hands. My coffee cooled as I sipped it slowly. For once, I wasn't filling the space with noise. No podcast. No scrolling. Just being present. I arrived at work exactly on time. Smiled at the security guard. Learned his name was Joseph. He'd worked in the building for 12 years. Had 3 grandkids. Loved fishing. How had we never really talked before? My desk looked different somehow. Same photos. Same plant slowly dying. Same stack of files. But I saw it with new eyes. I rearranged things slightly. Threw away old sticky notes. Wiped down the surface. Small acts of care. My coworker Tim stopped by to chat. Usually I'd give short answers. Keep my head down. Today I actually engaged. Asked about his weekend. He seemed surprised but pleased. Told me about his daughter's soccer game. I actually listened instead of waiting to speak. The morning meeting felt different too. I spoke up about the Johnson project. Offered some thoughts. My boss nodded approvingly. Colleagues actually wrote down what I said. I used to try to be invisible in these meetings. Small steps toward being seen. Lunch came around quickly. I usually eat at my desk, working through the break. Today I went outside. Found a sunny spot on a bench. Watched people go by as I ate my sandwich. A text from my sister popped up. "How are you really doing?" she asked. "Better," I replied honestly. "Actually better." She sent back a heart emoji. Simple, but it meant everything. The afternoon dragged a bit. Old habits of watching the clock. But I focused on each task fully. Completed reports with attention to detail. Organized my files with care. Even cleaned out my email inbox. Small victories. Then 5 o'clock arrived suddenly. I shut down my computer completely. Left nothing urgent for tomorrow. Walking home, I took a different route. Past shops I'd never seen before. A bookstore with cats in the window. A small bakery with handwritten signs. A music store with guitars in the display. I went into the bakery on impulse. Bought a single cupcake with blue frosting. The woman behind the counter had a beautiful smile. She wrapped it carefully in a box with a ribbon. "Treat yourself," she said as I paid. I nodded, suddenly emotional. The evening stretched before me with possibility. I used to dread evenings alone. Now they felt like gifts, time that belonged only to me. I called my mom on the walk home. Actually called, not texted. Heard the surprise in her voice. We talked about nothing important. Her garden, the neighbor's new fence, my cousin's baby starting to walk. It was the longest conversation we'd had in months. My apartment welcomed me back differently somehow. It used to feel like a place I simply stored myself. Now it felt like home. I put on music, something gentle with piano, opened the windows to let in the spring air, made a simple dinner with actual vegetables, sat at my table instead of on the couch, used a real plate, a cloth napkin, lit a candle I'd been saving for someday. Today was someday. I didn't turn on the TV afterward. afterward. Didn't reach for my laptop. Instead, I found a book I'd been meaning to read. Actually sat in my reading chair. The one I bought but rarely used. Read 50 pages without checking my phone once. Then I remembered the cupcake. Unwrapped it carefully. Ate it slowly at my kitchen counter. Savored each bite like it was important. Because it was. Small pleasures matter. I cleaned up thoroughly. Wiped down counters. Washed dishes right away. Small acts of respect for my future self. Then I drew a bath. Added the bath salts my friend gave me last birthday. Never opened until now. The water was hot and smelled like lavender. I sank in and felt my muscles relax. Closed my eyes and just breathed. For 10 minutes, maybe 20. No rushing. No distractions. Just being in my body fully. After I put on soft pajamas, the matching set I'd bought online. Always meant to wear them but never bothered. They felt good against my skin. I sat on my balcony as night fell. Watched lights come on in other apartments. Imagined the lives happening in those windows. Families eating dinner. Couples watching TV. Singles like me finding their way. The stars appeared one by one above the city. I knew their light was ancient, traveling for years to reach my eyes. Something about that thought brought me peace. I made a cup of tea before bed. Chamomile with honey. Drank it slowly while writing in my journal. Hadn't done that in months. Wrote down small observations about the day. Small gratitudes. Small hopes. Nothing profound. Just honest. I set my alarm for 30 minutes earlier than needed. Time for myself before the world rushed in. Then I turned out the lights. Lay in my bed. Felt the clean sheets against my skin. Listened to the city sounds outside my window. Distant sirens. A car honking. Someone's laughter floating up from the street. I used to hate those sounds. Now they reminded me I wasn't alone. That life was happening all around me. That I was part of something larger. I slept deeply that night. No tossing and turning. No middle of the night anxiety. Just rest. The kind my body had been craving. Morning came gently. No harsh alarm. Just soft light and birdsong. I kept my promise to myself. Didn't reach for my phone right away. Instead, I lay there, feeling grateful for simply being alive, for breathing, for another day of possibility. I made coffee again. The slow way, the right way. Added a splash of the good cream. Sat by my window watching the city wake up. Made a real breakfast. Eggs and toast. Fruit on the side. Read a few pages of my book while eating. No rushing. No multitasking. Just being present with each moment. My phone buzzed with work emails. I let them wait. They would still be there in 30 minutes. Right now was my time. I stretched. Did a few yoga poses I remembered. Nothing fancy. Just gentle movement. My body thanked me with less stiffness. More energy. I dressed with intention again. Clothes that made me feel good. Not just appropriate. Not just acceptable. Good. Made my bed carefully. Watered my plants. Noticed a new leaf unfurling on one. Progress happened slowly then all at once. The walk to work felt like an opportunity, not a chore. I noticed a community garden I'd never seen. Flowers pushing through soil. An elderly man tending to tomato plants. I stopped to compliment his garden. He beamed. Told me he'd been growing things for 60 years. Offered me a sprig of mint from his plot. I tucked it in my pocket. Carried the smell with me all day. Work was busy but different. I took short breaks. Stood up. Stretched. Looked out windows. Drank water regularly. Checked in with colleagues. Not just about projects. About their lives. Their weekends. Their kids. I felt more connected. More part of things. Lunch was with Tim from accounting. Actually planned it yesterday. We went to a small deli nearby. Talked about more than work. Discovered we both loved the same obscure band. Made plans to see them next month if tickets weren't sold out. A small bridge built. A potential friendship forming. The afternoon brought challenges. A project deadline moved up. Files missing. The printer jammed. 6 months ago I would have spiraled. Today I just handled each thing as it came. No catastrophizing. No drama. Just solutions. One step at a time. I stayed 15 minutes late to finish properly. Not from obligation. From care about my work. Then I put everything away. Tomorrow would be another day. The evening was mine again. I stopped at the market on the way home. Bought ingredients for an actual recipe. Something I'd saved months ago but never tried. Cooking took 45 minutes. The process was as satisfying as the result. Chopping vegetables mindfully, stirring sauces with attention. The smells filled my apartment, made it feel lived in, cared for. I ate at my table again, with a glass of wine I'd been saving. Used the good plates I usually ignore. Called it a celebration. Of nothing special. Of everything special. After dinner my sister FaceTimed me. I answered right away. Showed her my apartment proudly. The clean spaces. The thriving plants. The evidence of small changes. She noticed immediately. Said I seemed different. Lighter somehow. I just nodded. Hard to explain transformation while it's happening. We talked for an hour. Really talked. About mom's health concerns. About her marriage struggles. About my slow journey back to myself. No solutions offered. Just listening. Just witnessing each other's lives. After we hung up I felt full in a different way. Connection feeds something food can't touch. I took a short walk. Around my neighborhood. The night was cool but not cold. Perfect for walking. I nodded at neighbors I recognized but never spoke to. Some nodded back. One man walking his dog stopped to chat. The dog's name was Buckley. He was a rescue. 10 years old but still playful. I petted him and felt my heart expand slightly. Back home I prepared for the next day. Picked out clothes, packed a lunch, set up the coffee maker, small kindnesses for my future self. Then I sat with my journal again, wrote down moments from the day worth remembering. The garden, Tim's unexpected laugh, the perfect tomato in my pasta sauce, Buckley's soft ears. Nothing extraordinary. Everything extraordinary. I slept well again. Dreamed of oceans I'd never seen. Places I might go someday. Faces I hadn't met yet. Woke feeling rested. Ready. The pattern continued for days, then weeks. Small changes, small choices, small moments of presence. Nothing dramatic. No lightning bolts. Just steady steps toward a different way of being. Some days were harder than others. Old habits tried to resurface. The critical voice in my head got loud sometimes, but I just noticed it. Didn't believe it automatically anymore. Kept moving forward. One choice at a time. After 3 weeks, I joined a community class. Just once a week. Photography basics. Something I'd always wanted to try. The first night I was nervous. Almost didn't go inside. Sat in my car for 10 minutes. But I made myself walk through the door. Introduced myself to strangers. Admitted I knew nothing about f-stops or apertures. They welcomed me anyway. The instructor was patient. Enthusiastic about teaching beginners. I left with homework. Actual homework. Take 30 photos of ordinary objects from unusual angles. I spent the weekend with my camera, seeing my familiar world differently, through a new lens, literally and figuratively. Showed my photos at the next class. Received kind feedback. Constructive suggestions. Felt proud of trying something new. Started carrying my camera on my daily walks. capturing moments that caught my eye. A reflection in a puddle, shadow patterns on brick walls, a child's abandoned mitten on a fence post. My phone filled with images, evidence of paying attention. I printed some favorites, hung them on my previously bare walls. My apartment began to reflect me more fully, not just my function, but my essence. My sister visited one weekend. I actually invited her, planned meals, changed sheets in the spare room, bought flowers for the table, cleaned thoroughly but not frantically. When she arrived, she hugged me longer than usual, said my home felt different, said I felt different. We cooked together, walked around my neighborhood. I showed her my favorite spots, the bakery with the friendly owner, the bookstore with the cats, the community garden where I now knew several people's names. We stayed up late talking about our childhood, about our parents, about paths not taken and paths still possible. In the morning, I made pancakes. We ate on the balcony, watched the city wake up together. When she left, we both had tears in our eyes, the good kind, the connected kind. Work changed too over time. I spoke up more in meetings, offered to lead a small project. My boss noticed, gave me more responsibility. I set boundaries too, left at 5 most days, declined weekend emails, somehow got more done anyway. Presence creates efficiency. Who knew? I started having lunch regularly with colleagues, not just Tim anymore. A small group formed. We reserved a table once a week, talked about books and movies, complained about company policies, celebrated small victories, became something like friends. One Friday, they invited me for after-work drinks. I said yes without hesitation. We went to a small bar nearby, had 1 beer each, laughed about office politics, shared stories about worst first dates. I told them about my photography class, showed them some pictures. They seemed genuinely impressed, asked thoughtful questions. I walked home feeling lighter. Belonging even in small doses heals something deep. Spring turned to summer. I kept my windows open most evenings, let the sounds and smells of the city in. Started growing herbs on my balcony, basil and mint, rosemary and thyme, used them in cooking, gave small bundles to neighbors. The elderly woman next door brought me tomatoes from her daughter's garden in exchange. We started having tea together once a week. She told stories about the neighborhood decades ago, about raising children as a single mother, about losing her husband young, about building a life anyway. I listened and learned. Wisdom comes in unexpected packages. Summer brought new routines, morning walks before the heat set in, weekend visits to farmers markets, a community cleanup I volunteered for, met more neighbors that way, exchanged phone numbers, made loose plans for future coffees. My world expanded in small concentric circles. I called my parents more regularly. Actually visited one weekend, drove the 3 hours without complaint, arrived with groceries and their favorite dessert, helped dad with yard work, sat with mom looking through old photos, slept in my childhood bedroom, felt both strange and comforting, left on Sunday feeling connected rather than drained. At work, I got a small promotion, nothing dramatic, better title, modest raise, more interesting responsibilities. Colleagues congratulated me sincerely. I felt worthy of it for once, capable, growing. My photography improved with practice. I invested in a better lens, took day trips to nearby state parks, captured landscapes, wildlife, fellow hikers with their permission, posted some images online, received encouraging comments, joined a local photography group, started meeting monthly to share techniques, compare equipment, plan outings, found myself looking forward to it eagerly. As fall approached, I realized something profound. Without dramatic intervention, without grand gestures, without uprooting my entire life, things had fundamentally changed. I had fundamentally changed. Through daily choices, through small habits, through paying attention. My apartment now felt truly mine. Photos on walls, books actually read on shelves, plants thriving on every windowsill, evidence of hobbies and interests visible, spaces for different activities clearly defined. A home rather than just housing. My body felt more mine too. Not through dramatic transformation, not through punishing routines, just through care and attention, regular movement, thoughtful nourishment, adequate rest, moments of pleasure. My relationships had deepened, new ones had formed, old ones had healed or evolved. I had friends now, actual friends, people who knew my coffee order, who texted just to check in, who saved articles they thought I'd enjoy. My work felt purposeful, not world-changing perhaps, but meaningful in its own way, done with integrity, with attention to detail, with consideration for others, with appropriate boundaries. One evening in late September, I sat on my balcony. The air had that perfect crispness, not cold yet, just fresh. I wrapped a soft blanket around my shoulders, sipped tea with honey, watched the sunset paint the sky in impossible colors, felt something settle in my chest, a recognition. This was what those words meant all those months ago. This was living instead of surviving. This was the difference. No dramatic storyline. No cinematic transformation, just showing up differently, day after day, choice after choice, breath after breath, until life itself transformed around me, because I was seeing it differently, because I was participating in it differently, because I was present for it differently. I smiled into the gathering darkness, grateful beyond words, for ordinary miracles, for quiet joys, for peace found within, for love that entered unexpectedly, for purpose that guided my actions now. Life had indeed surprised me with its capacity for renewal, with second chances disguised as ordinary days, with healing that happened breath by breath, moment by moment, choice by choice, until I realized fully what I'd known intellectually for months. I was living instead of just surviving, and that made all the difference.